People often reach out to me saying that they are inspired by my journey, that I quit my job, found my calling or passion, and achieved financial freedom. Some of them go as far as telling me that they too have taken the leap and become full time investors, thinking that's the path I followed. And while I am deeply touched to have inspired someone, I'm also a little alarmed when I hear this. Because, in all honesty, that's not my story. I'm not a full time investor. I still work as a writer and a creator and a teacher. And investing is just what I do with my savings, like most people. The reason I quit my job was not to become financially free, it was to live more deliberately and more honestly and more aligned with what truly mattered to me. Before I quit my job in 2011, I wrestled with this decision for months. And it wasn't some act of bravery, it was quiet and uncomfortable. And I didn't quit because I hated my job or had a terrible boss. In fact, I was doing fairly well by most standards. But comfort can be deceptive. It creeps in slowly, and before you know it, it takes away your hunger to grow. That's exactly what scared me the most. The idea that I was getting used to a life that did not feel like mine. I started feeling like I was trading my time for things I didn't deeply care about. I knew I had to make a shift, but I also knew I could not do it blindly. So I asked myself five hard questions. The first question I asked myself was, why do I really want to quit? For me, it was about time. Time with my family, time for my health, time to write and reflect and walk aimlessly. I was tired of watching life pass me by through the windows of a local train in Mumbai. I didn't want to live on someone else's clock anymore. I wanted to take ownership of my days. The second question was, can I do what I want to do without quitting? And the answer, after many failed experiments, was no. I tried adjusting my work hours, I tried waking up early, I tried weekend projects, but the bandwidth just wasn't there. So I needed a clean break to do justice to what I wanted to build. And that led me to the third question, which was, do I have a plan B? Honestly, not in the traditional sense. I didn't have a fallback job or a business plan, but I had a skill, which was writing, and I had a desire to serve. I taught myself to write better, to understand online content and marketing, and I began freelancing for financial companies. That helped me get by while I built Safal Niveshak, piece by piece, from a laptop in a crowded train. The fourth question was perhaps the most important one. Do I have my family support? Because no matter how bold your dreams are, if you're not aligned with your loved ones, the journey becomes much harder. Thankfully, my wife backed me completely. She believed in what I was trying to do, even when there was no income for a few months. My daughter, too, in her own sweet way, was ready to let go of her gifts and toys just to see me at home. And finally, I asked myself, can I afford to quit? Not just emotionally or mentally, but financially. So I did the math. I cleared my home loan. I made sure we had enough savings to cover almost 3 years of expenses. And we agreed as a family to scale down our lifestyle if needed. Now, I don't want to paint this as some fairy tale. It wasn't easy. There were moments of fear, anxiety, and self doubt. There were days when I questioned myself and wondered whether I'd been reckless. And I still have those days. But what I've come to realize is that quitting your job isn't a one size fits all solution. It's not a shortcut to happiness or freedom. It's simply a trade or one set of constraints for another. If you're thinking of quitting because it seems glamorous or because someone on the internet made it look easy, I urge you to pause. The path looks different up close. The sacrifices are real. The responsibilities don't go away. In fact, they deepen. But if you know exactly why you're doing it, if you've been through the risks, discussed it with your family, built a skill, and saved enough to weather a few rough seasons, then maybe, just maybe, you're ready. From my journey, here are a few honest lessons I can offer. First, you don't need to quit your job to live meaningfully. You can build your passion alongside slowly and steadily. Second, don't expect investing to make you rich. It's not a career, it's a habit, a way to grow what you've already earned. Third, learn to live with less. Practice minimalism before it becomes necessity. Fourth, don't believe the shiny headlines that promise overnight success. They rarely show the full picture. And finally, listen to your heart, but make sure your heart has had a long conversation with your brain. When I quit, I stumbled upon a passage by Paulo Coelho that stayed with me. He said, ask yourself the classic Carlos Castaneda question: which of these paths has a heart? That's the only path worth walking. And it doesn't matter if it looks crooked or slow or uncertain. If it feels right, if it beats in sync with your soul, just walk it. Take care of it. Tend to it patiently because it's yours and it's sacred. I'm not here to hand out prescriptions or tell you to quit your job. I'm just here to share what I have lived: the highs, the fears, the freedom, and the quiet joys. If you're standing at a similar crossroads and wrestling with your decision, I would love to hear from you. You're welcome to send your questions or reflections by email or just drop them in the comments below. I may not have all the answers, but I promise to respond with honesty and maybe a little nudge to help you think more clearly. Because in the end, your path is yours alone. But that doesn't mean you have to figure it out alone. Thank you so much for your time.